two bombshell updates for you today. Fox News released the body cam footage of the mayor of New York and his arrest. Also, it shows a congresswoman assaulting ICE officers. And a ceasefire agreement has been reached between India and Pakistan. Okay, so this is additional body cam footage from ICE officers from yesterday's event that led to the arrest of the mayor of New York. Now, we are continuing from yesterday's video because more information has come out, like the clip I'm about to show you now, that you will be able to see a congresswoman elbowing one of the ICE officers. Take a look. Now, in case you missed it, I'm going to slow it down because I want you to see it for your own eyes. Don't take my word for it. You let me know in the comment section, do you believe she elbowed the ICE officer? Okay, watch this. I'm going to go slowly here. Red jacket. Here she is. There's the first push. Here's the second one. And she's just bulldozing her way through. I mean, unless it's just me, maybe I'm over-exaggerating this, and I'll play it at full speed. I mean, come on. So this is what people in Congress are doing with their time. Now, here's the bombshell update from DHS. They're claiming that one of these individuals who serve in Congress body slammed an ICE officer and more arrests are coming. Take a listen. We should let viewers know there will likely be more arrests coming. We actually have body camera footage of some of these members of Congress assaulting our ICE enforcement officers, including body slamming a female ICE officer. So we will be showing that to viewers very shortly.
You say a video of members of Congress body slamming ICE
That's correct.
officials?
That's correct, sir. It's disgusting.
Okay, and so if you have that video, are you suggesting that members of Congress will be arrested who were there yesterday?
This is an ongoing investigation, and that is definitely on the table.
Who has the video?
ICE does, and we will be releasing that very shortly.
Okay. Let's talk about...
Yeah, listen, I'm just as shocked as he is. If they actually have the body cam footage, because we showed you what was already released by Fox News, I don't see an ICE agent being body slammed in that clip. But if they actually have that, I hope they release it. That would be a bombshell on all of those Democrats that showed up there yesterday claiming that they were innocent in all of this. Now, speaking of that innocence, here is the mayor. I guess a couple of hours after being arrested, he was released. He goes on to CNN and says this.
Well, I mean, I obviously was charged with federal trespassing and, which is a Class C misdemeanor. But, going through this is just really humiliating and painful. But the reality is this is what democracy is. Right. And so, we are in dispute here, and we just living in a time period now where if you are opposed to the ideas of people, you could be threatened with arrest or intimidation. And that's exactly what's happening. And that's not the America that we want to be in. That's not the America that people chose to move thousands of miles from around the world to. This is not this place. And they're turning it into an authoritarianist government.
Now, for the people who have not been paying attention over the past 4 years when Biden was president, there's multiple scenarios just like this that took place, but the media refused to cover it. You guys recall the gentleman who was creating memes about Hillary Clinton online was sent to prison. But you didn't hear about that on mainstream media. Why? Because we already know it's anti-Trump. So I'm not buying what he is saying here. And furthermore, he claims that they need to fight. And here's the reality about using that type of language, which I know both sides, uses, of course. But what's interesting to me is if you're fighting against the president, technically you're fighting against democracy in your own terms, right? Okay, well, here's what Byron Donalds had to say. Take a listen.
And instead of standing with the American people and President Trump to make sure we have an orderly process to remove criminal illegal aliens, What are they doing? Waiting for the gate to open to run through the gate? I mean, that's just crazy to me. And I'm not saying it's just because of what happened today. When Joe Biden was bringing in tens of million people into the United States, I went and toured one of the facilities down at Fort Bliss. I waited at the gate, showed my congressional ID. I had to wait a couple hours. They finally let me in to tour that facility because I wanted to see what Joe Biden and that administration was doing at that time. So for them to just storm the gates, much more about a political stunt. We cannot have people impeding the operations of Homeland Security and ICE when they're trying to undertake the mission given to President Trump by the American people.
That's why I love Byron Donalds, because he just gives it to you straight. When Republicans visited ICE detention centers, you never heard of them storming a gate and someone getting arrested. I wonder why that is. Because they weren't looking to make a political show out of it. And this is where Democrats go wrong. They're so desperate that they're willing to just do anything. It doesn't even matter if it's against the law. We just got to do something. And I think that's where they're at. And we already know where that's going to lead to more destruction of the party. Now, Stephen Miller, I suppose, also commented on this event yesterday. Take a listen.
This administration is going to pursue immigration enforcement and cooperation in every city. And anyone who doesn't comply with the laws and dictates of this country will face the appropriate legal consequences. That applies to Eric Adams, and that applies to every other mayor in this country. The law is the law is the law. And if obstruction, if hindering, if harboring occurs, then the full range of potential penalties applies to any federal official, any state official or local official that's engaging in obstructionist behavior.
Why would he get involved in that way that led to him getting arrested? Well, remember, he's running for governor of that state. And I'm going to tell you this right now. This is what's wrong with our country. I guarantee this is going to be one of the events that leads to him getting enough votes to potentially become the next governor. Because that's the mind and the culture of Democrats right now. It's not on merit. It's not on qualifications. It's not on getting results. In my opinion, it's just causing chaos and fighting against Trump. That is where you're going to get a lot of respect on the left. It doesn't even matter if you deliver for the actual community and impact their lives financially in a positive way. No one cares about that right now. What we care about is fighting against President Trump. That is their thinking. And that's why we continue to see on mainstream media like CNN defend this behavior by spinning the narrative. Take a listen to how Abby Phillips describes this situation.
Let me add a little bit more context. So just to tell people what he's saying occurred. The Congress people, there were three members of Congress who were there, who planned a press conference and a rally and invited him to attend that press conference and a rally. He did. They held the rally in that location. So in other words, there were people who planned it. It wasn't him, who were authorized to be there.
He's invited by a member of Congress who has no ability to invite the mayor, who has no standing to be there to begin with, into a private facility that is used by the federal government. He's a mayor of a city, and all of a sudden, he's just allowed to come in and protest.
He would have been doing an interview tonight if he had not been there.
He's running for governor.
In a contested primary in a big Senate.
He's running for governor.
How many fundraising emails did both of those individuals send out tonight?
Hold on a second.
See, I wouldn't have had him on if he didn't go through all that and tell his story.
Well, yeah, I think that's a great. It is a great point about how this moment may backfire in a way on the administration because it's free press for him. He's absolutely getting a lot of traction out of this. But
okay, let me just take a moment because I have something special I want to share with you guys. This right here in front of you is called Blackout Coffee. Okay, this is the first coffee brand that I've chosen to actually partner with because you know I'm obsessed with coffee. But let me explain to you why. It's a bold, premium, small batch America First coffee that's brewed right here in the USA. So whether you're grinding through the early mornings like me, long nights like me, or just need the extra jolt of energy, Blackout Coffee has you covered. From rich, dark roasts to cold, ready-to-drink options, everything they make is built to fuel patriots. Here is the most important part. For every bag you buy, they send 2 cups of coffee to active duty military members. And as a thank you for joining the movement, they're giving my listeners 20% off their first order. All you have to do is go to blackoutcoffee.com/Devori or use promo code Devori. Again, that is blackoutcoffee.com/Devori.
the nature of your arrest with masked members of ICE just felt, and we've all seen the video, I mean, incredibly suspect, just watching it.
It was terrible. They obviously targeted me. It was more. I wasn't the only one out there. They came directly to me, right? And tried to arrest me. No one else, me. And so I honestly believe, I was targeted there. And, it's interesting to see all these people making these comments on social media, from the government about why I was there. I didn't come down there to protest. I came down there for a press conference with the Congress people. I knew I was going to get in the building with them. I was waiting for them to return from outside of the building to participate in the press conference with them. I was already there earlier that morning. I didn't need to, if I wanted to protest, I could have protested that morning.
It's so fascinating that she's not even willing to admit the obvious. This is a political stunt by the mayor, as I just laid out. Okay, that is my opinion. And again, based on history, this normally does not happen. So why did it happen this time? Did ICE agents go in there looking for a fight? No, they didn't. They went in there looking for a fight. So that's the story that he's running with. He was targeted. They purposely arrested him. It's all the fault of ICE officers, and he's totally innocent here, and they didn't do anything wrong. That is the overall message from him and people on the left. Now, in regards to people on the right, like Tom Homan, here's the way that he sees it.
This is about the safety and security of the employees. This is about the safety and security of the illegal aliens. And it's about the safety and security of the public. You just don't make an entry like that. You don't make an unauthorized entry while they're moving a bus of criminals in the facility.
Okay, so this takes us to our next story. This is Gavin Newsom making an appearance on Fox Business. And he obviously spends time criticizing Trump the entire time, until Larry asked him point blank, if you were the president, what would you do differently? I want you guys to hear his answer. Take a listen.
How would a president, Gavin Newsom, do it differently, I guess I'd like to know.
Well, that's a hypothetical. I can just say, look, I wouldn't do it the way it's being done. Identifying a problem is one thing, and advancing solutions and strategies in a consistent and comprehensive way, step by step, is the preferred approach. The instincts to bring manufacturing back are spot on, absolutely right. And with respect, I would argue that the Biden administration advanced them in a deeply meaningful way. Talk about worker-centered industrial policy, the CHIPS and Science Act, the IRA, a framework of focus that I think was very populist. This was a President Biden, in this case, that walked the picket line, that saved the pensions for the Teamsters. But there was at least a more consistent, rational approach. I'd rather see him double down on the CHIPS and Science Act.
All right, so I don't understand anything that he said. I will, I guess, try to react to a couple of things. Number one, we know that Joe Biden technically was the most progressive president that ever served in the White House. And he himself clearly is not progressive, but whoever was controlling him clearly was. So that's the first thing. Secondly, they claim that what President Trump is doing, they wouldn't do it that way. And you know why they say that? Because they wouldn't do anything at all. That's the history of Democrats, especially just overall politicians in D.C.
I think tariffs can be used in targeted terms, but it's hard. It's hard work. And this notion that you can just arbitrarily across the board raise it here, emotionally raise it there, lower it emotionally, lower it here, this sends messages, mixed messages that make investment almost impossible. And as a business person, as you know, myself, a guy who's created 21 small businesses, the impacts even on my businesses are outsized that rely on exports into Canada, as an example, and rely on making long-term investments. It's put a chill on the ability to make wise decisions.
Okay, so now we can move to our next story, which I think is much more important than what we just had to talk about. And that is the war between India and Pakistan. Over the last few days, it has escalated. And now President Trump put this up earlier in the morning by saying this: after a long night of talks mediated by the United States, I am pleased to announce that India and Pakistan have agreed to a full and immediate ceasefire. Congratulations to both countries on using common sense and great intelligence. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, the story is not that President Trump and Marco Rubio brokered a ceasefire deal. The story now, as I'm recording this video, is that India has already violated this ceasefire deal. Take a look at this.
We are following some more breaking news. India's foreign secretary now saying that Pakistan has violated the ceasefire agreement agreed upon earlier today, just hours ago, and that they intend now to respond. It comes as we got multiple reports of explosions in India-controlled Kashmir just hours after, again, the two countries were said to have reached the ceasefire deal. Now, tensions have been escalating in the past few weeks between the neighboring countries.
Yeah, and so that's actually the most recent reporting on what happened. But let's just take you to earlier in the day when it was first being reported that a ceasefire deal had been reached, and really the people that were behind it and possibly why they should be recognized for their efforts. Take a listen.
And, you know, the fact that this was taking place between these two nuclear-armed neighbors, I think shook the international community and shook the United States in particular into action and basically forced diplomats from Washington to really get engaged and to bring the two sides together to get them to step back from the brink. Remember, it was only a couple of days ago that J.D. Vance, US Vice President, was saying that dispute between India and Pakistan, it's none of our business. Those were the words he literally said. And what we now understand from the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is that actually there's been a day of intensive negotiations involving him and J.D. Vance speaking to the leadership and the military leaders on both sides of the divide in India and Pakistan, finally getting them to talk and to agree to step back from the brink.
Now, here's what you need to know. President Trump and his entire administration is being accused of isolating America from the rest of the world because of what J.D. Vance said the other day, which was, hey, whatever's happening between India and Pakistan is none of our business. For a lot of people out there, that confirms their perception of this administration. And as you guys heard, Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance has proved these individuals to be wrong. Because when it comes down to it and the crap hits the fan, these people seem to deliver every single time. And they were able to get this ceasefire agreement put in place. Not to mention that they're also reporting that a 30-day ceasefire proposal is being discussed between Ukraine and Russia. So hopefully that happens as well. Now, our next story involves RFK Jr. He went on to Fox and Friends this morning and defended the nomination of Casey Means. And obviously you guys know that's been getting a lot of backlash. But let's hear what he had to say.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy that and grateful to President Trump for nominating Casey as the Surgeon General. There's the industries that are threatened by her nomination are mobilizing, and they're actually paying a lot of bloggers. We've learned now to attack her. They're attacking her on the mainly on the critique that she stopped practicing medicine. Casey was at the top of her Stanford class. She was president of her Stanford class. As a resident, she won every award that you could get for the kind of surgery that she was doing. And she realized very early on that she was not healing patients. They were coming back again and again because the surgeries were treating the symptoms and not the underlying causes. And she decided to devote her life to figuring out what those underlying causes were and to ending those exposures. She wrote a best-selling book that really galvanized the MAHA movement. And Rachel, I'm very, very grateful to you, the leadership that you've shown in telling this story to the American public. Casey is an incredible storyteller. She is a pregnant mom right now, so she has a touchstone with every mother in this country. How do we take care of our babies? How do we give them good milk? How do we make sure that their foods are not poisoning them? And she can tell that story, and I don't think there's going to be a more effective Surgeon General in our history because of the capacity and the talents and the experience that she has.
Is Donald Trump going to stick by this nomination?
I'm very optimistic that he will. He had a great meeting with Casey and really liked her. And, I think he knows how important she is for our country.
Now, as time has gone by, here's how I see this entire situation. Because I'm telling you that so many people agree and disagree on both sides, really. The fact of the matter is results will tell the story. If she gets confirmed, the judgment will be Did she have a positive impact as Surgeon General? And then people can judge from there. But at this point, previous Surgeon Generals have failed America, especially over the last decade. I guess, what's the risk in going with Casey Means at this point? It's like RFK Jr. What's the risk of nominating him as Secretary of HHS, given the last secretary that we had? Right? You can't get any worse than what we just had to experience during COVID. So the way that I see this is, let's give people a shot. And if they fail, we'll call them out. And if they succeed, we should celebrate it. Now, I actually want to get your guys' response to a lot of the stories we talked about today. But the main one here is the reaction today from the arrest of that mayor in Newark. I mean, this guy, he's unapologetic. No regrets. He'll do it again if he wants to, of course. Whose story are you buying more? Do you believe that laws were broken and they deserve to get arrested? Or do you believe this is, they're innocent, they didn't do anything wrong, and ICE actually targeted them? I want to get you guys' thoughts about all that in the comment section below. Now, as you guys know, this arrest took place yesterday, but there was another breaking story that happened, and that was with President Trump confirming what he wants to do with taxes. If you missed out on his announcement, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.